morning, I'm Abhyuday Shrestha, and these are the headlines for this hour. India positive towards Nepal's proposal of increasing aviation routes. Foreign ministers of two countries discuss about implementation of past agreements. Wide-body aircrafts purchased for 24 billion rupees fail to find new destinations. Attention not paid for their best use, with all the focus on alleged corruption. Schedule of Public Service Commission hampered by the staff adjustment process. Chairman Mainali says possibilities of recruitment have ended till mid-April. And defending champions Barcelona suffer a shocking 2-1 defeat against Levante at the first leg of the pre-quarterfinals of Copa del Rey. Let's begin with the latest national political updates. India has appeared positive towards Nepal's request of additional aviation routes. The government of Nepal and India have reviewed the status of bilateral development projects at the Raisina dialogue held in India. Nepalese Foreign Minister Pradeep Gewali had reached New Delhi yesterday to attend the 4th edition of the Raisina dialogue. Minister Gewali had held a meeting with his Indian counterpart Sushma Swaraj and discussed expediting the multi-purpose projects agreed between the two nations. According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the two sides have agreed in implementing the agreements signed during previous high-level visits. Likewise, the two ministers also agreed to organize the 5th meeting of Nepal-India Joint Working Group in Kathmandu at the earliest. The meeting held at the office of the Indian Foreign Ministry also focused on improving the Nepal-India bilateral relations. Minister Gewali also addressed the dialogue organized by the Observer Research Foundation. Addressing the meeting yesterday, Minister Gewali stated that Nepal and India could reap benefits from the close ties shared by the two countries.
Single-handedly, we cannot reach the destination of prosperity. We must seek support from our development partners from around the world, including our rising neighbors.
Minister Gewali also shared that Nepal had gone through political transformation lately and mentioned of Nepal's priority areas in development. Minister Gewali is scheduled to return back home today. The massive corruption during the procurement of wide-body aircrafts has drawn widespread criticisms in recent days. The Parliament's Public Accounts Committee and the International Relations Committee were actively involved in the investigation into the alleged irregularities. The issue led to intense debate among the political circle. However, the concerned quarter has not paid adequate attention towards the best possible operation of the aircrafts bought with the expense of 24 billion rupees from the state coffers. Despite the issue of irregularity in the procurement of the aircrafts drawing criticisms, all the sectors appear quiet regarding the operation of the aircrafts that have already arrived in the country. Productive efforts remain to be made from the state regarding the identification of the best possible destinations for the aircrafts that have been purchased with a loan investment worth 24 billion rupees from the Employees Provident Fund and the Citizens Investment Trust. This has led to mere 6 hours of operation on a daily basis of these aircrafts that have the capacity for flying up to 16 hours a day. The Nepal Airlines Corporation management has been requesting the government for support, saying that it is in a state of financial crisis because of the failure to operate the aircrafts at full capacity. The political leadership appears indifferent in scheduling flights to new destinations. However, the corporation leadership has claimed that efforts are underway regarding identifying new possible destinations. The recent aviation agreement reached with Japan has provided some respite to the corporation. It is imperative to investigate the irregularities during the procurement of the aircraft brought in as national assets, and actions must be taken against those involved in the blatant corruption. Meanwhile, failure to ensure the optimum utilization of the aircrafts that have already reached Nepal will only lead to losses for Nepal Airlines Corporation that might exceed the amount of irregularity. The Public Service Commission issues vacancy announcements in October every year as part of its annual calendar event. Likewise, the Commission has maintained itself as an important constitutional body as its work's schedule rarely changes. However, amid the controversy surrounding the Staff Adjustment Act, the Commission has termed new recruitments as highly unlikely anytime soon. The openings that should have been announced last October was pushed by 2 months on the government's request. However, it is still uncertain when the Public Service Commission will next announce the vacancy. The Federal Affairs and General Administration Ministry has stated that the call for new applicants would not take place until the staff adjustment completes. The ministry has stated it is unable to decide on the number and level of officials required. The government calling for new applicants at this juncture could throw constitutional and legal complications in future. The Public Service Commission has concluded that the new applications would most likely not be called until the end of April, as the government has not consulted with the Commission on their requirements. The government has given public officials until 15th of January to apply for staff adjustment. The government has said that it would take 2 to 3 months to complete the adjustment process. By the time the government concludes the adjustment, it will practically be late for the Public Service Commission to open new vacancies. This is sure to affect around 700,000 youths waiting to apply for government jobs. Dr. Govinda Kesi has begun his 16th round of hunger strike, stating that the medical education bill has failed to include agreements struck with him in the past. The bill will face no obstacles if the government with a 2/3 majority decides to endorse it. The ruling Nepal Communist Party has still been claiming that dialogue could be held regarding the demands of Dr. Kesi. The bill endorsed by the Parliament's Education and Health Committee will now reach the House of Representatives. Following discussions and approval from the House of Representatives, the bill will be sent to the National Assembly. Endorsement from the National Assembly will open doors for certification of the bill by the President. Space remains for addressing Dr. Kesi's demands prior to the endorsement of the bill from both the houses. With the majority of the ruling coalition at the Parliamentary Committee and both the houses, it will not be difficult for the committee's report to be endorsed as it is. Lawmakers of the ruling party have said that there remained space for discussions despite Dr. Kesi not putting forward his opinions at the committee. The government was prepared to address the demands of Dr. Kesi during his 15th hunger strike. His supporters have alleged that only a few demands are being addressed, while other basic demands have been twisted. Dr. Kesi has alleged the government of facilitating the private sector instead of increasing the government investment in the medical sector. Lawmakers of the main opposition, Nepali Congress, have termed the government stepping back from the past agreements a betrayal and have said that there should be no delay in including Dr. Kesi's demands in the bill. The government's trend of forging agreement with Dr. Govinda Kesi but failing to ensure implementation has continued yet again. The government's trustworthiness will decline if it keeps stepping back from the past agreements and its commitments. The government has termed Dr. Govinda Kesi's 16th round of hunger strike as unnecessary, claiming all of his demands to reform the medical education sector have been addressed. While addressing the government's weekly press conference, Communication Minister Gokul Baskota stated that the Education and Health Committee had endorsed a bill that is in line with Dr. Kesi's demands.
को सन्दर्भमा त माग सबै पूरा भइसके जस्तो लाग्छ। सायद उहाँले त उठाएका मागहरू जुन चिकित्सा शास्त्र के रे शिक्षालाई सुधार गर्ने विषयमा जे कुरा उहाँले उठाउनु भयो त्यसमा संसदका समितिहरूले पनि एउटा निर्णय लिइसकेका छन् र उहाँका मागहरूलाई त्यसमा सम्बोधन गरिएको छ। यो त उत्सव मनाउनु पर्ने बेला हो उहाँले जस्तो लाग्छ।
Minister Baskota also clarified that the government, for the time being, would not take any actions against the Tourism Ministry and Civil Aviation Authority officials alleged of corruption during the procurement of the wide-body aircrafts. Minister Baskota added that the government would make a decision once it receives the final report from the special commission formed to probe into the case. Likewise, Minister Baskota announced that the Cabinet had approved of the Regulations on Employment Rights 2075, along with the changes made in the national hierarchy. Welcome back. The National Reconstruction Authority has claimed all reconstruction works would complete within the next 2 years if the projects can proceed without any controversies. However, lawmakers have questioned the authority's claim, citing the sluggishness seen in the past 4 years since the 2015 April earthquake. At the meeting of the Substantial Development and Good Governance Committee under the National Assembly held yesterday, the authority's Chief Executive Officer, Sushil Gyawali, presented a data claiming 60% of the reconstruction works have been completed since the formation of the new government. Gyawali stated that the remaining reconstruction works would be completed within the set deadline of January 2021. However, Gyawali stated that the donors had not fulfilled their commitment of providing 938 billion rupees aid for reconstructions and that the state's reconstruction budget was inadequate as well. Skeptic lawmakers also stated that many of the genuine victims were yet to receive the relief grant, while a number of government decisions were yet to be implemented. Meanwhile, the National Reconstruction Authority shared a progress report stating 46% of the victims had already received a third installment of the grant for reconstructing their houses, 45% of the private houses had completed constructions, and 35% were under construction. The report also claims a satisfactory progress in reconstructions of schools and health institutions and archaeological sites. However, based on the progress and the National Reconstruction Authority's claim of lacking funds, it is doubtful how the authority would complete the remaining works in the given deadline of 2 years. A special government provision is in the offing dedicated to a target group as the government plans to cut down the grant provided on cooking gas. Speaking at the special function held yesterday to celebrate the 49th anniversary of Nepal Oil Corporation, Supply Minister Matrika Prasad Yadav said the government had planned to cut off the grant, citing heavy misuse from those who do not fall in the targeted group. The LP gas cylinders are being sold at a price that is 80 rupees lesser than the market price. The government is now preparing to sell LP gas cylinders at its cost price. The government had earlier distributed 2 different cards for industrial and household users. However, the effective implementation of the plan remained a far cry. Likewise, the government's plan to sell 2 different cylinders based on its users also could not produce effective results. Meanwhile, the corporation has decreased the price of aviation fuel by 10 rupees and maintained the current price at 94 rupees per litre. Welcome back. It has almost been a tradition for the government units to carry out development works with the onset of the monsoon season. Taplejung Atre Tribeni Rural Municipality had planned to complete all the projects by mid-April, which has been mentioned in the work plan as well. However, the irony is that only 50% of the plans have been agreed with the consumer groups by mid-January. In this context, we had asked that, in such a scenario, how is it possible for the projects to be accomplished with only 3 months of time to spare? Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public voice.
पुसभरमा हामी सम्झौता सक्छौं र काम त्यहाँदेखि उता फटाफट हामी अगाडि बढाएर हाम्रो खातामा आइसकेका रकमहरू चाहिँ फ्रिज नहुने ढंगले चैतभरमा सक्ने योजना हाम्रो हो।
इन्जिनियरहरू नपाएको खण्डमा पोहोर एकजना इन्जिनियर राख्यौं, अहिले गइहाल्नु भयो। स्थानीय उत्पादन भएको भए रहनुहुन्थ्यो होला। उहाँहरू अब एस्टिमेट बनाएको पनि छैन, त्यस कारणले गर्दा थोरै ढिलो भयो हो। सक्ने जति हामी गर्छौं र त्यसदेखि पछाडी हामी टेन्डर मार्फत गर्ने जमर्को गर्दै
सम्भव छ जस्तो चाहिँ लाग्दैन। अब गर्दै लादा सकिन्छ।
वडागत रूपमा चाहिँ गजगच्याउने छिटो आउनुहोस् भनेर हामीले चाहिँ भनिरहेका छौं। त्यसकारणले हामी चैत मसान्तरभित्र सक्न सम्भव देख्छौं।
धेरै जसो भनेको मेसिनबाट गर्ने कामहरू छन्, अब सडकको कामहरू र बाँकी म्यानुअल वर्क गर्ने कामहरू छन् र त्यो हिसाबले प्राविधिक पाटोबाट काम सम्पन्न हुँदाखेरि उपभोक्ताहरूबाट पनि सम्पन्न हुन्छ।
Now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
And here's your question. What's your take on preparation by Nepali Congress to form a shadow government? Your options are A, role of the responsible opposition, B, trying to be active, and C, trying to fool the public. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And it's time now for the sports news.
Sports news.
Nepal's national cricket team is returning to the international arena after 3 months. However, Nepal's training methods have remained the same during its journey from Division 5 to obtaining the one-day international status. Nepal is depending on a 10 to 12 day of closed camp sessions and traditional infrastructures as it gears up for the 3 one-day internationals and 3 T20 matches against the United Arab Emirates. One of the key players of the national cricket team, which is training at Kantipur ground, Sharad Veswakar, does not have many new things to say. In each of our meetings, he shares that the situation has remained the same, but the hopes are high. The international achievements of Team Nepal and the domestic cricketing structure do not align with each other anywhere. This is not a new problem for Nepalese cricket. It has been almost 3 years since the suspension imposed on Cricket Association of Nepal (CAN) by the International Cricket Council because of the internal political issues. During this period, Nepal received its ODI status. However, no other changes has been seen except for the one-day recognition. It has been almost a year since Nepal was recognized with the ODI status. Nepal debuted at the one-day internationals in the series against the Netherlands in July-August last year, which ended in a 1-all draw. The Asia Cup qualifiers match between Nepal and the UAE was also recognized as a one-day international. Nepalese cricket has been restricted in a small boundary because of the dependence on the ICC for basically everything. Both the experienced players and those ready to debut for the national team are currently under training. Despite the limitations, players from both the generations have aspirations of improvement in Nepalese cricket. And that's all for the moment. Our next English bulletin will air at 11 this morning. Keep watching Kantipur Television HD for more news and entertainment. Thank you for watching. Have a good morning.